morning, everybody. This is Jayslyn from LZ's Taxidermy, and today we will be finishing out a squirrel. This is the squirrel we mounted in our previous video using our kit, and it was the sitting position. And today we will be finishing it out. Okay, so the first step in our finishing out process is we'll be taking these yellow pins out. You gotta be very careful on taking these yellow pins out, because if you pull it too hard, like on the toes or something, it will pull a toe off. So we are going to twist and pull. Or twist and pull. This is the best way I found to do it, and it is much easier than just pulling it out. We're just gonna twist and pull. So here on the toes, we're just gonna twist and pull up. Twist and pull up. But now if your toes, if one accidentally does come off, that's an easy fix with just some super glue and putting it back together. But we do not want that to happen, but it happens sometimes. So now that we have all the pins pulled out, we are going to brush him down, try to get all the excess dirt, borax, whatever he may have on him off. And if we wanted to, we could use the air compressor to kind of blow him off a little bit to try to get real good and clean. Okay, so for this next part, we're gonna need some things. We're gonna need a paintbrush. Whatever paintbrush you would like works for you. We're not gonna be painting anything on with this paintbrush. We're just gonna be smoothing the epoxy out with it. Right, and next we're gonna need an X-Acto knife, a razor knife, whatever you want to use. Just make sure it's sharp and clean. I actually need a new blade myself. Alright, and the next thing will be this silver tool right here. It has like a knife on one end and like a scooper part on the other end. I'm gonna need that for the epoxy. And I like using black epoxy for the squirrels. You can use whatever color you want because we're obviously gonna paint over it. This is what it looks like. We're gonna need part A and part B. You take one part of each and mix them together, even parts. Then we're gonna need a cup of water. And we're gonna need a Dremel. The Dremel is gonna be for carving out the nose, just to make sure it's good, the right like size that you want it, so we can put the epoxy in the nose and it'll look like he's alive and well. Alright, so we are going to take our X-Acto knife and clean off his eyeball. If there is anything, we're going to scrape it off.
Where's Mr. David?
Alright, so now we're going to move on to the epoxy. We're going to take part A and then part B and get 2 equal parts out. You can use gloves for this part, but I usually don't. Get a little ball about this size. About equal sizes of them, and then we're just going to mix them together. Okay, now that we have our repeat that process on the other eye. Okay, now this next part is where our Dremel is going to come in very handy. We are going to carve out his nose. Like that. Alrighty. Alright, now we're going to smooth the epoxy out in the nose with some water. We're just trying to do the best we can to make this nose look realistic. It is going to be painted over, so don't worry too much about the sides. Okay, so we're gonna wait a couple hours for the epoxy around the eyes and in the nose to dry a little bit, so we're not painting while it's still wet and still could be moved a little bit, so we don't want to mess it up while we're painting. So we're gonna wait a couple hours and we will be back for the painting process. Alright, now we are back and we are ready for the painting process for the squirrel. We are going to be doing the eyes, the ears, the nose, and any imperfections he might have around his body. We're going to be painting them. I'm going to be using black and buckskin tan, and I'm going to be using this airbrush right here. With the airbrush, we always go from light to dark when painting. Just makes it an easier process with cleaning it out and not mixing up the paint. So we're gonna put some buckskin tan in there. And then with this color, I like doing the ears with this color. Better, and now we're going to do this second. Looks great. Right, and this color you can also use with like any imperfections like on the toes and stuff. I'm going to put the camera a little bit closer so y'all can see. Alright, see how his toes are kind of the black and the white? We're going to fix that. Take this airbrush. And don't worry about any overspray, that will come off when we brush and pick later. This right here. Alright, and now let's do these. Alright, and that paint we got on the wood, we'll scrape that off and brush off our overspray. And at this point we can look for any imperfections in the body, anywhere that you might see that needs to be fixed or painted. Okay, and now it's time to paint with the black color. We're only going to do the black in the nose, like the nostril area, and then around the eyes. Just a little bit. We don't need much for this. Right. Once again, we will brush off our overspray once we get done. His nose, and I didn't notice, but my squirrel does have an imperfection right there. It's a little scar. I might keep it just for character, but if not, I might paint over it with a white color. Not too sure yet, but now it's time to brush off all the overspray and clean the eyes off with some lacquer thinner or paint thinner. Alright, now it is time to scrape the excess paint off and clean the eyes off with lacquer thinner. So first I'm going to start here at the small side of my spoolie at the nose. Alright, I have cleaned up on the nose, got off all my overspray, and now we're going to do the eyes. Now we're just gonna lightly brush the inside of the ear just to get it off the little extra hairs in the ear. Alright, we're gonna do the feet. I took my pine cone out for a second just to make sure everything's right and in order. Right now I have some lacquer thinner in this little cup right here, and then I have a couple Q-tips right here. I'm going to take the Q-tips, stick them in lacquer thinner, and then just wash off the eye. It's looking better already. And now we're going to repeat on the other side. Alright, and in this next step we are going to be using Mod Podge. Make sure it is the gloss instead of the matte. And we're going to put some of it in this little cup right here. Just a little bit. We don't need much. Alright, and for this step you can use a paintbrush, Q-tip, whatever you need. I'm just going to use a Q-tip and I'm going to lightly brush it on his fingernails. Alright, and we're also going to put it around the eyes right here and some on the nose. Right now it's time to start with decoration. For decoration, I have this right here, which I'm gonna put right about here, and we're just gonna staple it on. Alright, now that we have that one right there, I am going to hook up the hot glue gun so we can dress up around our staples, so we will have that covered up. Alright, now that my hot glue gun's all heated up, we're gonna lay some right here. Then we're gonna put this moss on top of it.
What are you doing, Tara?